To mark International Women's Day, I am very proud and honoured to be joined by a few Flight Centre legends. We're going to be talking all things pivotal career moments, different stages of life that we all go through and can relate to. So I'm going to start by asking everybody here today to introduce themselves, how long you've been at Flight Centre, and a moment that you are proud of in your career. So, Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Kendrick. I'm Head of Operations for Europe, and I've been with Flight Centre for 27 years. My milestone achievement is 2 years ago I took on this role, so coming out of the UK into Europe, and that is a real pivotal change in my career path. Thank you.
Roshni?
Hi, I'm Roshni Shah. I've been at Flight Centre for 18 years. I'm currently Global Head of Transactional Finance, which I've taken the role 2 years as well. For me, the proudest moment is this role, given that I've got now exposure to the world operations, global people in their roles, and most importantly to me, and being really proud of, is being part of the global finance leadership team.
Thank you so much. Sophie, welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Ottaway. I'm Head of People and Culture at Scott Dunn. I've been at Scott Dunn for 2.5 years, and I've been in my current role for a year now. Moving up to be in my current role is definitely my proudest achievement to date. It's the pinnacle of my career, but I've also really enjoyed playing my part in helping Scott Dunn to find its new home within Flight Centre Travel Group.
Hi, I'm Tony Leo. I'm the creative lead for Flight Centre Leisure. I've been here for, it'll be 9 years in May. And my proudest achievement in my entire career was leaving a job to start a design agency on my own, and at the same time having twins. So yes, busy period of my life then, yeah.
Hi, I'm Romalie Stanford, Head of Productivity for CT UK. I've been at Flight Centre for 11 years now, and probably my career milestone, similarly to many others, was starting my most recent position 2 years ago, moving into the corporate technology space and joining the CT SWAT team.
Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today. I also haven't introduced myself. My name is Rachel, and I'm Head of Internal Communications at EMEA. I have only been in this role for about 6 months. But I did used to be in Flight Centre quite a long time ago, from 2013 to 2017, where I was in leisure as a consultant. So let's talk about some defining moments, maybe some challenges or some decisions that have happened along the way. Anything that has sort of significantly impacted your growth. So I'm going to start with Julie. So as a senior leader, what moment has sort of shaped your leadership trajectory?
Okay, it comes to a point where I was very much in a comfort zone in FCM. I've always worked through FCM. In the comfort zone in operations as an area leader. I then took myself out of that comfort zone and came to live in London, and took on a role of Head of Operations across UK and Ireland. So at that point, relocating, having to move, being in an environment that I'm not used to, and obviously working within the head office environment as well. And ultimately that, to me, kind of taken me that next step. So therefore I could actually sit on the SWAT team, be here, be part of that fast pace within FCM. And also at that point, it gave me that confidence that I was able then to kind of project myself where I am today. And I think that's the important part, is actually taking yourself out of those comfort zones and really being focused about where you want to go next. And that really has shaped my leadership skills.
Wow, very impressive. Thank you. Thank you for that. Tony, just flipping on that. So we talk about leadership skills, and you talked about setting up your own design agency as well, which is super impressive. What habits or strategies have sort of shaped your success, maybe back when you did the studio or even now?
I think you've got to genuinely enjoy what you do and have a passion for it. And I think learning from people around you, I mean, I used to do a lot of networking, and just taking the gems from that, learning from it, and not necessarily in the design industry. It was just generally learning from people and figuring out how you can use that with your own leadership skills, or just day-to-day work and life in general, really.
Yeah. So at the Big Play, who was at the Big Play conference? I think most of us were at the Big Play recently, just a couple of weeks ago. So fresh out of that, I'm sure most of you watching as well probably remember Callie Beaton's section at the conference, which was super inspiring. She got a standing ovation as well, which was very, very impressive. So she actually spoke about imposter syndrome and being a woman in a man's world. So I'm going to pose this question to everyone, but maybe start with you, Roshni. So you faced imposter syndrome at any point in your career, and how did you overcome it?
Sure. Yeah, I think most of us probably have faced it at some point, and I think for me it sort of comes and goes in waves, depending on what role you're in, if you've just taken on a new sort of promotion, new challenge, and also what's going on in your personal life as well. When I noticed specifically coming back from 2 maternity leaves, you're coming back, with that whole returning back to work, and if you're taking a new position after that as well, it's like, am I ready for this? And that whole confidence and that voice in your head, constantly sort of challenging yourself. But I think what's helped me through it and overcome it is really accepting that we're always here to learn. You're always on a learning journey. You don't know everything all the time. And especially when you're working with, say, senior leaders who are experts in their fields. And I think just really homing in on what you can bring to the table, and accepting that, that mindset growth mentality. And I think that you have to sort of keep telling yourself that. So I think that's what's really sort of helped me to deal with imposter syndrome as the waves come and go.
That's so true. It's very up and down, I find. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think it's also important, and one of my learnings from it is actually document what you have done and what you've been successful at, because you reflect and look back. It's really interesting to say, actually, I did achieve and I did do it. Where you try in the moment think about things, you can't see it. And also, as back to Rosh's point, you can't be great at everything. So always remember that. And it's really important to have that focus and mindset.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, being as a leader, I think vulnerable leadership is really important. And actually looking around, I don't always have all of the answers. And I'm quite happy to say that to my team and to my peers. And I think that's okay. We don't always have to have all the answers all of the time. We just need to be open and honest about when we,
So true. Yeah, I've definitely learned to sort of like say, I don't know the answer to that right now, but yeah, let's try and find out, or let's try and fix that, for sure.
That vulnerability is really key, isn't it, to have that close, sort of safe environment and network to share that with.
Definitely. I think that just shows authenticity and transparency, and that's, very easy to respect a leader who can show that. And then to Romalie as well, have you faced imposter syndrome or something similar in a more tech-focused role?
Yeah, so as Roshni said, I think probably most of us have, both in the workplace and kind of personal life. I think in particular in the technology space, it's a really fast-paced environment where there's always lots going on, and constantly lots of different priorities from, the different brands, different countries across Europe, different departments internally. So it is really important to make sure that you kind of back yourself and speak up. Obviously, I'm the voice of CT, but there's my equivalents across kind of all brands and regions, and actually really making sure that you kind of back yourself and, communicate effectively to make sure that our priorities are heard.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. You mentioned about coming back from maternity leave just a minute ago, and I wanted to sort of just divert the conversation into that sort of overarching motherhood conversation, and not just motherhood as well, but anyone that has sort of caring responsibilities or family responsibilities. So, and it's definitely a topic that's close to my heart as well. I have 2 young children, and finding that balance to thrive as a mother and as a professional, it's just continually challenging. It comes in waves. So to the panelists that are mothers, how have you balanced progressing in your career while managing family responsibilities or caring responsibilities? All those things that we battle with making appointments or when your kids get sick. Should we start with you, Sophie?
Yeah, sure. I think it's, first of all, I'd like to say, anyone that's thinking of starting a family, there's never a perfect time to do that. So if it's really important to you, just go ahead and do it. When I made that decision, I thought it was going to be a really straightforward process. It wasn't. There was baby loss and things that were involved in my journey, and it took longer than I expected it to. But what I would say is that since becoming a mother, it's given me more direction in my career. It's given me a fire in my belly that I didn't know I could have, because I want to make my boys really proud of me and set them a really good example of, a role model. And I have 2 boys who are aged 4 and 8. The nursery years are definitely really challenging with like lots of sickness but actually, you know, they're in nursery from 8 in the morning till 6 p.m, you know, all year round. Whereas when you get into the school years, you've suddenly got school holidays to battle with, and they're only in there from 9 till 3:30. So what do you do with the rest of the day? And I would say probably the most challenging period for me has been in the last year. So when I got the same week that I was promoted into the current role that I'm in, my 8-year-old son, Jack, was unexpectedly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And this completely, you know, has changed our family and our dynamic, and it just knocked us for 6. And what I can say is that Scott Dunn, the support that they provided me going through that period was exceptional. And I think it's at times like that where the company that you work for shows its true colours, and the loyalty that Scott Dunn showed to me and that my team showed to me was wonderful, and has made me really clear that that's where I want to be and where I belong. So. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any experience? Any other mums around the table or want to share?
Well, I was doing on the day before I was having the twins, I was writing a proposal, and the nurse came in and told me to stop because I had to concentrate on resting, because obviously I was going to be operated on the next day. So yeah, but yeah, it's you don't ever have a rest really, I think, and I don't know whether it's something we put on ourselves, but whether, you know, we have to be a really good parent, we have to be really good at work, we have to be a really good partner, all of these things that I don't know if that's just me, but it's an awful lot of pressure, I think, that, you know, that we put on ourselves to be 100% at all of those things. And if you're not, then you just feel guilty or just below par, or and as they got older, as you say, then you know the challenges are different, because you have the assemblies that you have to go to versus, you know, kind of turning up for a meeting, or, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. And of course children make you feel guilty, so if you don't turn up, they're like, well, all the other mothers are there. So
I think it's really key about that guilt as well, because I think that is a sign of actually caring about work, but also deeply caring about obviously your family commitments. And I think for me it was more just getting that network, that support network, whether it's, you know, friends helping, family helping, being really open communication with your leaders, you know, what you can and what you can do. Something, you know, got a child with a disability and the extra appointments that come with them, etc. And those challenges just change, you know, throughout, they sort of progress through their years. But is having that vocal connection with your leaders and seeing what is acceptable, and having some non-negotiables, you know, where are your boundaries of, you know, work and family life as well, just to bring that in.
So is that what you would advise to any sort of woman who is feeling that pressure from the perception of commitment, or anyone who's struggling to juggle? Is that what you would advise?
No, absolutely. Is being that, having that communication channel open. Absolutely. You know, what are you struggling? How can we help? You know, like you said, Flight Centre have been, and Scott Dunn in your case, been really, really supportive. But they don't know what they don't know, and how can they help you? So having that close network, that work.
And pick out the other parents and carers that, you know, are in your employee network that you can relate to, and, you know, be open and honest with them, and don't hide it, because it's part of who you are, and everyone should be able to bring their authentic self to work. So actually this is part of you. So just talk about it, be open about it, and people are a lot more understanding than we often think they're going to be.
Yeah, definitely. You don't really know what someone's going through until someone else opens up, and then you realise, actually somebody else is actually going through exactly the same thing that I am.
Like we have,
yes,
because
like
both of our sons have type 1.
Exactly.
So,
I also have a son with type 1 diabetes, and yeah, it's a struggle, all the appointments and stuff. But it's great to know that, well, not great, but it's reassuring to know that Sophie is also going through a very similar journey, and if we don't open up, then we don't know, really. So that's very true. And if we zoom out on this topic a little bit further, like I said before, we're not just looking at motherhood, we're looking at all the different stages of life that we all go through as women, whether it's carer responsibilities, different challenges that we face just during our monthly cycle, and then even menopause as well later on in life. Does anyone have any thoughts or insights on what we are all dealing with but not necessarily talking about?
I don't think menopause is talked about enough. I think it's better, and I think that, we have the support. We do have the support at Flight Centre, but up until now, I just don't think it's something that. I haven't spoken to my mother about it. I asked her when she started hers, and I'm not afraid to say I'm postmenopausal, and it's scary because all of a sudden, I feel old sometimes. I feel, and is that because, is it society that is saying that, oh, she's menopausal, oh, she's having a hot flush, and we sort of joke about it a little bit,
It's not funny.
It's not funny. I saw this thing on Instagram actually last night, where it's this woman who's going through menopause, and you could see the heat rising from her head because she was a cold day, and it's the same like, oh yeah, she's, but actually it's those hot flushes and the lack of sleep and the mental struggle that you go through sometimes during menopause, it's not funny. Some days I wake up and I think I'm not sure I can actually go to work today. I feel really weird and I can't. But what do you say? Do you ring up your leader and say, hey, I'm just feeling a little bit wonky today? I don't know. What do we do? What do we do about that? And explaining that you just feel not quite right.
I feel like an expectation, just get on with it, and it's the same when you've got your period as well, or all these different stages, and it's like, well, yeah, how do you explain that? How do you push through?
I think also from a woman's perspective as well is that when your leaders or whatever being male, it's very difficult then to also have that conversation. You feel a little bit, so it can be quite difficult. But I think also it's the awareness around everybody else knowing what you're going through, but also I think now with Flight Centre they have the group, so people are kind of a little bit more approachable and actually talk about it, where probably years ago it was very much locked, shut the door, and you were left to kind of deal with it yourself.
True.
Yeah, there is a lot of struggles with it. You do get forgetful. You have this baby brain thing. When you're pregnant, you get it's baby brain. When you're menopausal, it's meno brain. But it's you do, unfortunately, these are the things that do actually happen to you. Hormones are evil, and they happen to us quite a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we still have to show up, and we still have to come and show, give it our all and be the best that we can be.
That is true, and that's one of the reasons that we're having this panel. Just hearing you talk about it is just helping to normalise it, helping to know other people to know watching this that there are other people going through it and going through these cycles themselves, and hopefully that reassures somebody watching this that they can speak up or say if they're not really feeling it today. I will move on to the next section, which is women in leadership, unless anyone else has anything to add. Okay. So let's talk about women in leadership roles within Flight Centre. So Julie, what is your secret recipe for success?
It's a good question, and a lot of people do ask this as you've gone through years of your career and been in this role and with the Flight Centre group. For me, it is actually really having an open door approach and being able to be approached, to be able to talk to, but also be a good listener and be a good communicator is really important. And I think that also you then have to have your network around you, your team, which are super important because you're unsuccessful without your team. I think that's really, really important. And show that actually, what they are a big part of this, of your development, they're also part of it. And share that knowledge down, because there will be the succession plan. It's really important that we keep that open. But for me, it's approachable, it's being knowledgeable, but sharing the knowledge, but also then learning from other people as well.
Great, thank you. Roshni?
I think for me, and I think again, it was one of the first few things I did when I took on this role, is having a really clear vision and purpose that you can talk to while you build a team and talk to your team, because it's the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And similar to what Julie said, is building a really positive culture for that team. The communication, absolutely, being really approachable and hearing, I think, successes. It doesn't have to be just big wins, big successes, but just that progression and communicating internally, but also to the business what you are working and what you're achieving. So I'd say they're probably the ones that I sort of go to for leadership.
Fantastic.
Tips.
And talking of leadership as well, somebody did submit a question about what you specifically, Julie, look for in a good leader within FCM.
I think it's people that are they have a fight to be successful. They really want to kind of take that next step, and they're supportive with the people they're actually working with as well. It's important. It's not all about being knowledgeable, because I think that's the key thing. Is your team are there to support you. You don't need to know everything, but I think the important part is having that right approach, adaptability, and being eager to succeed.
Yeah, definitely. It goes back to what Sophie was saying about being authentic. If you don't know something, that's fine. Leverage on the skills of your team. Definitely. And then, back to Sophie as well. How do you think workplaces can sort of promote diverse leadership a little bit more? And do you have any sort of examples of that within Scott Dunn?
I think the real challenge is ensuring that your leadership team is as diverse as it can be. And it's something that we've been working really hard on at Scott Dunn over the last few years. And I'm really proud at the place that we're at now. So we have a lot of senior women in senior positions, and on our leadership team, our exec team, we now have 5 men and 4 women. But obviously we've had a woman in the top job now for 7 years. So previously Sonia and now Ali. And we also have some ethnic diversity in our exec team, as well as LGBT representation as well. And I think what's really important is that hopefully our team can look up to us as that global leadership team, and they can see hopefully someone that reflects them. And I think that mirror image is really important, because if you're going to hopefully be on a team like that in the future, you want to be able to see there's someone on that team that looks or sounds like you. And I think from a competitive advantage perspective as well, it just helps us to understand the market that we work in better. It means that we can understand our guests better. The more diverse we are as a team, it brings different ideas to the table. So I think it's really, really important.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts? No? Cool. I'm going to move on to the next section now. Coping under pressure and resilience. So Julie, a little bird, has been telling me that you are so calm under pressure. How do you manage stress and make the right decisions in high stake situations?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it comes up quite a lot in our business with the things we have to do and have been doing. But ultimately, I think for me is actually always take a step back and look at what the actual problem is, and always have a solution, always going with the solution. That's why I kind of lead down to my team, is like, don't come with a problem, you come with a solution, which is really important. But also I think is to kind of listen to what the problems are, but then actually come up with those ideas, those solutions. And for me, it's executing it. That's the important part about it. In front of people, I'm very, very calm, and I have that persona about when there are those situations. But when I walk through the door, then I can kind of have a little scream or what it may be. But I don't show that to my team. That's the important part, is not to stress the levels down too far.
That's a good approach. Thank you. Okay, cool. I'd like to dive into a few more sort of personal methods for dealing with stress and high pressure situations. So Roshni, why don't you tell us about sort of your
similar to Julie, but I
experiences?
think for me, when you're faced with a challenge, is taking that challenge, and is those planning and organisational skills come into play, breaking down the challenge into, I think, manageable parts. What am I in control of? What can I actually control and make a difference? And what do I need support from the business with? Drawing on my team and using them and prioritising those tasks. So I think that planning and organisational skills, similar to you said, communication, not just focusing on that really big win, big outcome, but actually that progression. That's what people want to see, is you're progressing. You're not going to fix things in a day, but giving people that time frames and how you're progressing, what support you need. And I think, staying calm and focused. And I think what I said before as well is that vision. What are we trying to achieve? Having that solution in mind and coming up, because people are looking at you for decisions. So you've got to come up with, a forum to help create those solutions.
It's also executing the plan. I think it's important, because you can sit in a room, make a solution and have a plan to go forward, but then you don't execute it. Then people go, well, what have we? So it's really important, again, is to kind of follow that plan up and delegate it. Yeah.
100%. I'm going to throw it over to the other side. So Romalie, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. So very, very similarly to what both Julie and Roshni have said, I think my key to kind of dealing with stress and craziness in the workplace is, again, maintaining a solution-focused approach. I think it's so easy to kind of flap and get bogged down in the detail of what's actually gone wrong or how much there is to do. But actually, if you can kind of take a step back, look at what the problem is, or look at what the long-term goal is of what we're trying to achieve, and then just break it down into what actually needs to happen to get to that future point. And then communication as well, just making sure that everyone's really clear on where we're at, what we need to achieve, and who's responsible for what. I think that's really crucial in terms of making sure everyone stays calm and knows what they're responsible for.
I think it's a really good way of separating like negative emotions from high pressure situations. Really, really good. Sophie, do you have any sort of experience of doing that, separating your emotions from, situations?
I think in my role, difficult decisions need to be made sometimes, and those are decisions that can impact, people's lives at the end of the day. And it's certainly a skill that I've had to hone over the years. And I found the best way to do that is to kind of decompartmentalize. So, and I do have to wear lots of different hats every day. Sometimes I'll be supporting someone through an emotional situation, and the next minute I need to go in and deliver a presentation on something. So you kind of have to decompartmentalize yourself and have really clear boundaries in place. So I find it's helpful to take that time on the way home from work to kind of, put what's happened to the back of my mind, and then become mummy when I get through the door. And that's just the healthiest way to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Great. Should we talk about mentors? So I don't think any of us really got here where we are today alone. So let's dive into some mentors that left a lasting impression and helped us all break up some boundaries. So I'm going to go back to Romalie. Have you had a mentor that has sort of stuck out and shaped your career?
Yes, I think I'm quite lucky in that in my 11 years here, I've had quite a few different mentors or strong females as well who I would consider mentors in my career. If I look at one of my first managers when I started in leisure 11 years ago, that was Suzanne Crockett, whom we've now done full circle, and she's my reporting line today as well in corporate technology. And I think I don't know where I would be without a lot of those mentors kind of pushing me along my career. I think I've taken a lot of different opportunities that were completely out of my comfort zone and consider positions that I probably didn't think I was qualified for or didn't really feel like I could necessarily do at that point. And actually those are the positions where I've kind of learnt the most because I have thrown myself in the deep end, and it has been such a learning curve, but that's where you kind of, I think, take the most out of developmentally career progression, really.
Yeah, no, that's great. And if you could go back and visit your younger self and give yourself some advice, what would that be?
It probably would be push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's never going to feel natural, and it's never going to feel like the easiest route. I've had so many changes in my career. I worked in NDC straight after leisure, which was, a huge jump and a very technical role when NDC was so new to me and the business really at the time. And then again, similarly to my current role, again, quite technical when I initially started in a leisure background selling holidays. So I do think that, you need to push yourself, and you need to kind of open your eyes to what else is out there in order to kind of develop and learn about the full business and the industry as a whole.
So true. Yeah. Embrace the discomfort.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, great. And Tony as well, for those looking to climb the career ladder in the way that we all have, what is one action that you would say that people need to embrace today?
I think just evolving yourself. And I think since the time that I've been at Flight Centre, I kind of pigeonholed myself into being, I'm the designer, I'm the graphic designer, I'm the creative. And anything else that was happening around me in marketing was just the stuff that they did in marketing. Didn't really think it was anything to do with me or had any impact on my job. But actually, in terms of the mentor side of things, my current leader, if I'm allowed to say her name, Sarah. Of
course.
Sarah Winfield. Yeah. She actually was the one who taught me, I guess, that actually everything that's happening around me in marketing has an impact on creativity. And it's so true. And that was me evolving as well. And I sort of almost didn't want to do that, but because a lot of what happens in marketing is data and performance and the data performance stuff and why things are clicked on more than other things, and I thought it's nothing to do with me. But she actually taught me that it's so important, and it is important. So that was my evolution, actually, and I think that that's really important if you're going to kind of move up to the side. But I think that in terms of having someone like her to explain it to me and to help me embrace it, because I did kick back a little bit, because I just didn't want to. I don't like numbers, and I thought, no, not doing it. But actually, it was an important evolution for me. Yeah. So I think, like you said, I think that Julie and maybe you as well said about having an open mind. I think that's really important.
So as we close today's panel, I just want to take a moment to thank all the incredible women that are around me today from Flight Centre. I just want to sort of acknowledge your honesty. Thank you for speaking out. Thank you for not holding back and exploring those sort of pivotal career moments that we've all sort of had along the way, while also balancing those more tricky different stages of life that we all go through on this journey. So it's not always a straight path. But it's really sort of comforting and reassuring to know that we're sort of all on it together, in a sense. So International Women's Day is not just sort of about celebrating achievements. It's about sort of having these conversations and being honest and being authentic. And that's why we sort of wanted to do this panel and do something a little bit different this year. So thank you for joining me. I want to just ask you all one final question before we go. So what is one meaningful action, big or small, that we can all take to lift up the women around us and create lasting change? Big question. But if we start with you, Julie.
Yeah, no. For me, it'd be don't be intimidated. Follow your heart and what your goal is to achieve where you want to get to. But also remember to celebrate your success.
Mine was very similar. Mine was to be actually more deliberate about celebrating its success. I think you can do it, but I think just sharing with a wider audience. But I think for me, bringing up a teenager girl, and I think for that next generation, is really just being that leading, by example for her and opening up those doors for her, which she might not have felt confident that she could do before.
Thank you. Cool. Sophie? Remember that studies have shown that for men, if they can do 20% of the job description, they'll apply for the role. If women can do 80% of the job description but don't know how to do 20%, they won't apply for the role. So just believe in yourself, go for it, and also look for those advocates around you in the business that can, advocate for you, get you in those meetings, get you at the table, and just make those connections.
Yeah, I agree with everything that everyone said so far, and just remember, you're bloody awesome.
Yeah, very similarly, believe in yourself, celebrate your successes, and don't be afraid to push yourself out of your comfort zone, I'd say.
Thank you so much, everyone, for reminding each other to sort of champion each other and those around us as well that we work with. So thank you so much again for everybody joining me today, for reminding us all to champion the people around us. And if any of you watching this would like to contact any of us on the panel, please do. We'll put the contact details in the details on Workplace, and hopefully we can continue to have conversations just like these, not just on International Women's Day, but every day. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.